Hello. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I have an incredible talk to share with you, just something that was downloaded into my spirit just a few months ago. And I'm so excited just to unveil it with you today. I'm Nicole Elliott, um, and my talk is Innovate or Die. Let's see if I can get my first slide up on that screen. There we go. So innovators see beyond limitations and they move farther than they thought they could ever go, one terrifying step at a time. I wanted to journey alongside a few of the greatest innovators of our history who paved the way for greater creativity, greater inspiration, and great innovation. Through their lives, I hope to give voice to that innovator in you. So I've been in the photography business for 20 years. I started back in the day when it was film and just a different. So I want to go to that next slide. I don't know if my clicker is working, you guys. It keeps saying next. FY, there you go. Yeah, it was a different world when I started. I was 16 years old and life was photographers at that time used these $16,000 Hasselblads, very big, expensive cameras. And I really learned from the best photographers in the industry. And I loved every part of it. I live in Colorado. This is my beautiful family, my husband. I've been married 17 years. I have four beautiful girls and we get into the mountains every weekend. We try to hike as much as we possibly can and just live an adventurous life. So I just wanted to take a second and just introduce me and just have you guys get to know where I live and what I do. In fact, right in front of me are the mountains. They're just like a stone's throw away. It's just beautiful. So yeah, innovation. It is something that lately for me has been, I've just wanted to chew on it because I've never quite considered myself an innovator. And if you're like me, I don't think innovation is the first word you would use to describe yourself. Innovation described is the creation, development, and implementation of a new product, process, or service with the aim of improving efficiency, effectiveness, or competitive edge. Now, those three words, efficiency, effectiveness, and competitive edge, are three concepts that I really want to dive into today. And so I have 40 minutes with you, which is nothing. Oh my word, I wish I could have all day with you, but actually it's 30 because I'm going to give the last 10 minutes for questions. So if you have questions at any point throughout our talk, make sure just to put them in that chat section and then throw them in there now, throw them in whenever you have the question, because if you don't, you'll forget it. And then at the end, we will spend some time just unpacking your questions and just helping you to understand this content a little bit more. This is a talk that you're going to want to have paper and pen with. You're going to want to have your smartphones out so you can screenshot my screen. And yeah, let's go there. We're gonna innovate together. So next slide here. Without being efficient, we lose momentum. Okay, so if we're kind of unpacking the efficiency of what it means to be an innovator, the effectiveness of what it means to be an innovator, and that competitiveness of what it means to be an innovator, it would be described as this: without being efficient, we lose our momentum and our creative process just gets stifled. All right, and then without being effective, we never see our dreams and goals realized. Without being competitive, we just lose ourselves in a sea of every creative with a camera, you know? So it's so important to have all those three together. And my goal for you in just this next little tiny bit that I have with you is for you to start to think in a different way, to process through in your mind in a different way. We're going to tackle some limiting beliefs that might be holding you back from really moving past the roadblocks in your mind and just open you up to this thought of innovation. in your life as a photographer. Before I do that, I just want to share quickly my innovation story. I know that you guys, most of you probably don't know me. I'm sure I have some of my fans from here in the US joining in. Hi, if you are. I'm sure my dad and my mom are on. Hi, mom and dad. I just, there's a section of my history within photography that for me completely changed my life. I grew up in, let's see, let's go to this slide right before this, guys. There's one right before that has some like 6 pictures on it. Oh, maybe it's after this. No, okay, maybe it's not in there. That's okay. Go back to that one. Let's just keep it on that one. So my mother's from Ecuador. My dad is Puerto Rican. So I am Latina 100%. I grew up speaking Spanish in my home, but I grew up here in America. So I was bilingual. And I've always had this desire to go farther, to innovate. It's just kind of always been in me. And so when I started my photography business about 15 years ago, I just knew that I wanted to go big or go home. So I quickly rose to be the top photographer in my area in the upper Midwest of the United States in North Dakota. And it was awesome. I was teaching classes. I was just moving, and it's like I was moving down a stream, and it was like everything was moving my direction. Just felt right. Every door was opening up for me. My courses were packed out classes with waiting lists. Some of my work was being published. Content I was doing was just getting out there all over the US. It was just great. And all of a sudden one day it totally stopped. It's like I turned around and started trudging up the stream, and I felt the weight and the pressure of that stream against me. And it didn't feel like I was flowing with life. It felt like life was coming against me. And I remember this moment of just being, I went to my closet, like secluded. I mean, everything just kind of started to dry up. My classes weren't selling out anymore. Photography was going just this weird direction in my area. Just all of it was coming to an end. And I just remember getting on my knees and just bawling, just crying out, just saying, God, I need something here. All of these doors are closing. What am I supposed to do? It was just this moment of just sheer desperation. I just remember my husband walking in, and he's like, babe, what's wrong? And he just scooped me up in his arms, and I just buried my head in his chest, and he just put his hands on my head, and he just said this simple prayer. He was like, Jesus, I just pray that you would just give Nicole direction, that you would give her a new drive to do something completely different, and give her the strength and the boldness to do it. In Jesus' name, amen. I mean, that was it. It was simple. But that was enough. That was all I needed. The next day, this thought came to me. And if you just kind of look at that picture to the left, this is Ecuador. We had been to Ecuador 2 months before that, visiting family. The first time I'd brought my children and my husband there. And so I saw these women carrying these shawls around their shoulders. And I was like, and they had their babies or big, huge bags of rice or just heavy loads around their back that they'd carry all day long with the weight evenly distributed across their shoulders. And I had my big camera with me, and you know, with my conventional strap, it's like digging in my neck and my shoulders, and I was in pain all the time, and using my camera to hike up the mountains and everywhere. And I looked at them and I looked at my camera, and I'm like, they've got it. This method of carrying something that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, I'm doing it very wrong. And so all of a sudden in my mind, this thought came to me of developing a brand new camera strap. And it had been something that I'd been wanting to move forward in, but because my time and my energy had been put into all the other things, my photography business and the workshops and all that, I never explored this innovative idea that I had inside of me. It wasn't until all of that had just died to the wayside that life was birthed in this innovative thought that I had that was laying dormant. And it just like awakened in me like a giant. because I hit the ground running. I didn't know anything about what it meant to develop a product. I just had an idea. That picture in the top middle is me at my mother-in-law's house saying, because she sews and is a seamstress, I'm like, Mom, I need to create a camera strap. Can you help me do it? And she took out her sewing machine. We bought some fabric and we just started making the first very rudimentary prototype. A month later, I was overseas at a factory looking at samples and fabric samples and clasp samples and all the things that we needed to put this into production. A week after that, I had the actual finished prototype in my hand. 2 months after that, I launched my product to the world. And since then, I have partnered with Black Rapid, the most incredible camera strap company in the world. I got their attention and they said, hey, I like what you've created. Let's work together to get this to the world. And 3 months ago, I launched it in the UK. Hallelujah. I mean, that's just incredible. And that's the picture all the way to the right. That's the camera strap realized right there from the picture on the left, from the women wearing their babies on their backs. I'm here today speaking to you out of this place of total uncertainty, unknown. What's next? What am I doing in my life? What direction really should I go? To now this moment where I get to unpack this story, this innovation story with you. And so this talk for me is so heavy in my spirit. And I hope just to convey that same energy that I had when my innovation story came to me, and hope that it inspires you to do the same. Okay, so let's keep going here. I'll give you more information on that strap if you want it at the end here. I've got a slide for that. But I want to unpack what it is to be an innovator. I chose innovation. You know, might called innovate or die, and I know that's super aggressive, maybe over the top, but it's true. If you're not reaching higher, you're falling. If you don't have something in your life that's causing you to go move further outside of your comfort zone, you've stayed within the four walls of an area that will never cause you to do something that sits on my screen every time I work. Nothing extraordinary happens within your comfort zone. Nothing extraordinary happens within your comfort zone. And so I've thought to myself, how can I jump outside of my comfort zone and just reach higher? Let's go to this first slide of efficiency here. Okay, so the first step in becoming an innovator is really to deal with your mind. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you left brainers here in this moment. This is a very fascinating study that was done by a neuroscientist. Okay, by holding a positive and optimistic word in your mind, you stimulate frontal lobe activity. This area includes specific language centers that connect directly to the motor cortex responsible for moving you into action. And as our research has shown, the longer you concentrate on positive words, the more you begin to affect other areas of the brain. This was a neuroscientist at Thomas Jefferson University. It's incredible how your thoughts become your reality. And it's not just this like new agey frou-frou. It's a proven concept. The things that you think in your mind actually puts your life into action because they're connected in your brain. So my question to you, what do you think about yourself? What are those thoughts that control what you do in your life? So I have 4 questions that you don't have to answer right now, but I would encourage you to take a screenshot of it. And that should be the next slide if it's there. There you go. Yep. Take a screenshot of it or just write it down. And at some point, really unpack these things. If we are not, like I said, if we're not reaching higher, we're falling. If we're not innovating, we're dying. It's like we're a fruit. A fruit never just stays the same. A fruit either ripens or it rots. And so you're going to be moving in one direction or the other. And so getting rid of these limiting beliefs that really are the greatest roadblocks in our life, they're usually the greatest giants that keep us away from the things that we were really meant to do and move in. Getting rid of those is really that first step. So question number one is really huge. What belief do you have about yourself that is getting in the way of you moving forward? And the way that the question is it's asking yourself the question, what beliefs do I have about myself that are getting in the way of me moving forward? For some people, this is going to be a really exciting thing. Like, oh, I love to be introspective. And others of you, you're like, I hate this. I don't like to think of my character, the person that I am, and think introspectively. But you guys, this is important. It's really good to sometimes in our life do stuff like this that causes us just to take inventory in our mind. What are the thoughts that are leading me? Okay. Number two, what specifically do these limiting beliefs prohibit me from doing in my life? Okay, so now you actually are thinking, what are the things I'd like to do, but I don't do because I think these things? What positive beliefs can I replace them with? That's huge. What would I do if I knew I absolutely could not fail? That's so good. People say, I've heard this said before, and a friend of mine who is a big public speaker always ends with these quotes that people on their deathbed, it's a study that's been done that when they're asked, what was the number one regret in your life? And they say, it's not that I did the things and failed. It's that I didn't do the things I wanted to do. I never explored all the things that were in my heart and my mind to do. So that's huge. Answering that question right there is a great thing just to have written down somewhere. It may not happen this year, it may not happen next year, but at some point in your life to do those big things in your life that you've always thought you wanted to do. So those 4 things, I'd love for you guys just to take that time and just unpack those within your heart and your mind. Limiting beliefs are huge because they're the first step in just overcoming boundaries in your life and stepping outside of that comfort zone. Positive beliefs cause you to really reach higher. So let's unpack those 3 words: efficiency, effectiveness, and competitive edge. Because it's all those 3 things that are required to innovate in our life. So Henry Ford said this: if I had asked the public what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. I love that. So Henry Ford, he was determined to build a simple, reliable, and affordable car, just a car that the average American could afford at that time. Just millionaires and billionaires were buying cars. Everybody was still in their horse and buggy. And so out of that determination, Henry Ford created the Model T, which was the first accessible car here in America. And because of that, he designed the assembly line, which you can see a picture of there. It's just 2 very innovative things that completely revolutionized American society and really molded the world that we live in today. So it's very interesting to me that at that time, the people only knew of, well, it's a horse and buggy, and that's our life. That's what is in our realm of understanding. So if you're going to create something for us, Henry Ford, give us a faster horse so we can get to places quicker. Henry Ford was innovative, and he said, no, I'm going to create something completely different, out of the box, that you've never heard or seen before, and I'm going to make it accessible to you. So if we were to put that into practical application, what are 3 new ways of doing something within your photography process or business that can make things better or easier? How can you channel Henry Ford, become more efficient in your process, and do something in a different way that makes things easier for you? Okay. So write that down, screenshot it, whatever you want, but really, really think of that. And there's simple things. Like if I'm going to give you some examples of what I personally did within my photography business, for me, family was always first. It was never my business first. You know, I'm a mom of 4 girls. I homeschool my 4 girls. I spend a lot of time with investing in who they are. And no point of success was ever going to take that from me. So because that was my underlying principle in my life, I fashioned my business around that. I had learned from, like I said, top photographers in the industry, and I toured with photographers for years before I actually became a photographer myself as a business. And I just had seen too many put business first. And so a way that I personally became efficient in my process was to, like I said, fit my business schedule into my own family life. And so I would say Tuesdays and Thursdays are the only days I do sessions, and I do them at 5 p.m. at night because I'm not going to sacrifice my time in the morning with my family. Plus that golden hour at the night time was the best time to shoot anyway. So that was it. I set my calendar out for the whole year. Scarcity creates value. So I wasn't the photographer that was going to just shoot whenever somebody wanted me to shoot and get as many shoots as I could. I said, I'm only going to do 20 shoots a year. I'm going to set my prices high, do low shoots, low volume, high price points. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just giving myself away to anybody that wanted photography. I wanted to make sure I had the right clients for what I did. And I did huge portraits. I did in-person sales, and it was just really, really awesome. Another way that I became efficient with what I do is I created a welcome video. So a lot of photographers would do consultations in person. And I said, I'm going to streamline this, and I'm just going to do a video unpacking who I am and what I do and what I want to offer you. And so that's what I would send to anybody interested in using me as their photographer, so that they understood who I was and what my vision was for my business. And so that was I'm just kind of giving you just a couple ideas of what efficiency could look like and what has worked for me. And maybe it's something that could work for you too. Okay, let's keep moving on. Oh, my time is just going. Effectiveness. Okay, this slide has yellow on it. That's not how I made it. Shoot. That's okay. Let me say it to you just in case you can't read it. I'm not sure why it's highlighted, but that's okay. So Leonardo da Vinci says, I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do. That's huge, right? Like if you didn't get anything else out of this talk, but just that, to do, to move, to create. Let's go to that next slide. What are 3 things you can start this year? Think of 3 things you can do that are going to be a game changer for you, something different, something that maybe the people around you aren't quite doing. And it could be simple things like just scheduling a workshop to take because you want to grow your understanding further, building or revamping your website in a new, unique way, finding a photography mentor. That's huge. I started in the photography industry because I surrounded myself with mentors. I went to a photographer's home and cleaned her house for her and pulled files for her and just did all the stuff she didn't want to do. I didn't care what I was doing for her as long as I just got to be around her. She was instrumental in my life. So I encourage you guys, find somebody like that. If they're willing, if you can just say, I just want to shadow you. I'll do whatever you need. I just want to be a part of your process, your day-to-day process. That's something that you can start. Start photographing new things. If you've never photographed landscape, try landscape, All right, let's keep going here. Competitive. You got to be competitive in this industry, you guys. And I love how Steve Jobs says it. You can't look at the competition and say you're going to do it better. You have to look at the competition and say you're going to just do it differently. And that's exactly what Steve Jobs did. If anybody has ever researched his life, he's Apple. And this is a picture of him and Steve Wozniak in their garage building the first Apple computer. like, that's so cool. Talk about innovation, something that just pulls you outside of what is comfortable and what you know and what everybody knows, and and just like totally disrupts the normal, and you start a totally new normal in this world. So what are three things you can make that, let's see, what three things can you do to make you stand out of the crowd? All right, now this can be something that is really just as easy as just becoming your own brand. This is a huge thing for me. I talk about it all the time. Right now, with the digital era, there's so many photographers out there, and it's just like you're in a sea of photographers. I just want to encourage you guys, you are what sets you apart. Your personality, your tenacity, maybe even your gentleness, your calm demeanor, maybe your vibrancy, whatever it is that you are, you should be the forefront of your business. Get videos out there about you. Start letting people into your creative process. Get in front of people. Have them fall in love with you, not just your photography. And that in itself will make you stand out of the crowd. Okay. So I do want to leave time if we've got any questions here. Let me just pop over on this side just to make sure. Let me pause this. Okay, so I just want to continue to encourage you guys in your creative journey. Let me come over here. Okay, to continue to be effective in what you're doing, competitive in what you're doing, total innovation starts with something within. But I feel like most people don't think that what they have is valuable enough to actually pursue. And unfortunately, you'll never know unless you do it. I encourage you to take calculated risks. Don't just like do something willy-nilly. I mean, put some thought into it. But Leonardo da Vinci in our effectiveness slide, I want to say this about him. He was an engineer, and he conceived ideas that were far beyond his current world. His ideas didn't come into fruition for hundreds of years later. He thought of concepts that would not become conceptualized for centuries later, like the parachute, helicopter, armed fighting vehicle, the calculator, and even plate tectonics, the theory of that. So some of your thoughts might seem to you like in this moment, they might not make sense. But as you continue to put life into them and pursue them a bit further, you never know what can come out of that. I want to encourage you and just say that if you're in this moment where you're feeling like it's a little dry, we've all gone through COVID. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. It is a hard, challenging time, but it's also a very exciting time because you get to reinvent. You get to push the restart button. You get to get excited about something that you've never really thought of before. You get to put energy into dreaming again and moving things forward and outside of just the dream, but actually conceptualize it and make it happen. None of these innovators that we talked about would have ever done or become who they were had they not gotten these dreams out, surrounded themselves with the right people, and moved it forward in their life. And the world accepted it open arms. So don't be afraid to stand out. Don't be afraid to do something that's unique and that's different. And yeah, I just encourage you in that way. I cannot end this talk without just talking about the sponsorship behind why I'm here. So Black Rapid, in a time when I didn't know where I was going and didn't know what I was doing with my camera strap, I'm like, here I'm like a mom of four. I've never developed anything in my life. And here now I've got this product, and I did a lot of things wrong and I did a lot of things right. And I was in this season of, I didn't know, like, how much farther can I go just on my own? Black Rapids saw me and said, I will link arms with you and I will move you forward. And so I am forever grateful for this company and their heart and what they stand for, and that they said, hey, I'll give you a shot. And thank the Lord, it has gone well. So you've got on your screen where you can find this strap if it's something that you are interested in, and any of the other straps that we have. blackrapid.co.uk, that's where you'd want to go for any of the straps that they have. They're totally comfortable, totally functional, super stylish. It's just kind of checks all the boxes. So definitely check them out. And right now they have 20% off. That's awesome. I think it's only for a handful of days. So check them out now. Show them love. They've got a live chat feature. If you have any questions at all that you have for them, make sure to put that in there. But I just want to end with this here. I just want to tell you who you are as an innovator. You might not have ever thought that you were an innovator, but I hope in just this little bit, whether you took everything I said or just one little thing I said, I hope that it encourages you to step outside of your four walls of comfort. It is such a safe place to stay there, but there's so much more on the other side. It's usually not crowded in that side. In those hard, challenging, narrow roads, it's wide open spaces. There's a lot to do outside of your comfort zone. Photographers are a unique people. We see the beauty in places that most people can't see. We unveil hope and kindness and just raw, unedited beauty in the world and in people. We are image makers. We are memory bearers. We're life changers. I've literally sat in front of somebody and they see this image of themselves, and in tears, they're like, I never knew I was that beautiful. I never saw that beauty in me. This is what we get to do as photographers. So it's a big responsibility. And I just encourage you just to continue to move boldly in photography and what you're doing. And if you're in a dry season right now, start thinking, spend some time just thinking through, all right, how can I innovate? How can I do something I've not done before? How can I step outside of my four walls and explore what there is on the other side? I want your new mantra to be, I am an innovator. I am an innovator. And just say that over and over. Your thoughts move you in whatever direction you're thinking. So let that be your new belief. I am an innovator. That's what I've got for you guys today. I'd love to connect with you guys. You guys can follow me on Facebook or Instagram or send me messages on either one of those platforms. I'm going to pop over here. Okay, I don't think that we have many questions over here. So I'm just going to leave it to our host here just to end it out. Okay. All right. So that's it, you guys. I hope that you take in the rest of this show, and we've got today and tomorrow yet, and just take it all in and let it form something super creative inside of your mind and your heart, and just put it out there. It comes in a specific way, but it comes out in your way. It doesn't come out the same way that it came in. So these photography workshops are always things that I always love doing, because it moves you forward and it gives you just these little nuggets from this person and that person and just from all over the place that in your mind formulate something really powerful, and then you move forward really aggressively in these next seasons of your life. So that's what I got for you guys. Thank you so much for joining in today.